Amidst researching for this leisure activity project, I watched a documentary from the History Channel on guns and women. It was interesting to find out that in Europe in the 16th and 17th centuries, gun ownership was in fact not restricted by gender, but instead by class. Gun ownership was only for the nobility because they fought for the wars and controlled the peasants. Therefore, peasants were the only people who had to be kept disarmed. However, while gun ownership was not restricted to gender at the time, it was still rare to see women using a gun due to the social aspects of society. Women's history is not a history of wars. Rather, this perspective addresses women's influence on patriarchal society in light of their inferior status and their relegation to traditional functions based on sexuality, reproduction, and childcare. Based on that quote from one of our readings, we are able to tell women's place in history. Women were not connected to violence and were not expected to fight. Instead, they were judged based on their ability to take care of a family. Therefore, there is no way an activity that represented such violence would be widely acceptable for women. Furthermore, men were the ones seen as stronger and were predominantly in charge of protecting the family. This was the typical thinking for a long time up until the mid and late 1900s. Of course, that is not to say that there weren't women who had delved into shooting. The brave of them had formed groups to practice on their own. There was even a woman who was famous for her sharp shooting and exhibition shooting skills. That woman is Annie Oakley. Today, the statistics for female gun ownership has changed drastically. According to Peggy Tartaro, the editor of Women in Guns magazine, women's interest in guns began increasing in the 1980s. After women began taking on what used to be male-dominated professions, such as law enforcement and the military, and began taking charge of their own finances and living arrangements. The stereotypical image of shooting sports no longer holds true. It is found that women's participation in shooting sports has increased in abundance over the last decade. According to the National Sporting Goods Association, it has increased by 51.5% for target shooting from 2001 to 2011, basically to just over 5 million women. In October of 2011, a Gallup poll found that 23% of women own a gun. While many male gun enthusiasts are introduced to shooting from a young age, more women are becoming interested in shooting sports for a variety of reasons. One main reason for the leisure practice is for protection. With crime rates on the rise, women have to find a way to protect themselves. Learning how to work a gun can be beneficial in case an emergency arises. Another reason for leisure practice is as a stress reliever. With gun manufacturers catering to women's tastes, such as marketing special firearm models with smaller frames, custom colors, and accessories, shooting has also become more appealing to many women. Also, with women shooting clubs and gun ranges opening up everywhere, leisure shooting is becoming more and more convenient than ever. For my leisure activity project, I chose target shooting because it is a leisure activity I've always wanted to try but haven't due to an irrational fear of losing control of the gun. However, because of this project, I finally asked my coworker if he was able to take and teach me. I have to admit, as a child and a teenager, when it came to leisure activities, I almost always participated in ones that are more female-dominated. In elementary school, I took ballet lessons. In high school, I was part of the cheerleading team and took piano lessons. To me, I figured the reason why I was never into male-dominated activities was due to being raised by a single mother. Considering how recreational activities for children are often open to both girls and boys, all depends on the parents who tend to enroll their children into certain stereotyped activities that they believe are appropriate for the gender of their child. This is why girls and boys tend to learn and enjoy different activities from an early age, and that is likely the reason why I've never been into male-dominated activities. Another reason is due to physical capabilities, like in the Victorian era, when women were perceived as the weaker sex due to biological structure. In my case, it rings true. I am not physically strong at all. Target shooting appealed to me in a way because it does not require much physical strength. However, the challenge for me was the aiming and also getting into the perfect stance so I don't jerk back so much once I pull the trigger. Learning target shooting is a combination of patience and balance, not so much as power. I felt that this was a good challenge for me and the start of something new. From my first step to the front of my aisle at Target Masters and Milpitas, to listening to my coworkers' instructions and loading the gun and shooting my first shot, it was unexplainable. It was loud and it was scary as the empty shell flew out in our direction. However, I had also felt a thrill from doing something I never thought I'd have the guts to do. I went from trembling to fearless in handling a gun in just those few weeks. From missing the whole paper my very first time to shooting close to the center red target, I felt pride knowing that a girl like me, without any physical strength, could also do well at a male-dominated activity. I wouldn't hesitate to do it again. Thanks to this project, I had done something I always wanted to do, but yet had been scared to do. Seeing how I had done well at a male-dominated activity, it gives me strength to train myself and try much more. Hopefully, this will be the start of many more new experiences to come.